I just need therapy.
Well, welcome back to today's Bro-Yo podcast.
Homemade coffee.
Yes.
So
Is it hot still?
yeah, it's still hot, and you want to try some?
Yeah.
You'll have to give me a sip of yours. I don't know if you'll like it.
Oh, it's not hot. It's warm.
Do you like it?
Yes, you can get me weight. And it warms my thighs.
It's not the best coffee I've had,
But it's definitely not instant coffee.
and it's not Lucio's coffee.
For you that do not know what Lucio's is,
It's a quote unquote coffee
it's a
shop.
mediocre coffee shop.
Yeah,
But they do have good food, but it is
Yeah.
overpriced.
Mm-hmm.
But the coffee there, the only good coffee they have is a cappuccino, but lately it's not been that good. So,
Well-
but if you get Americano from there, it's like drinking instant coffee.
Yeah, but like really bitter, dirty instant coffee. It's like instant coffee that's trying. It's like someone that doesn't know what good coffee is like, and it's like, this tastes like dirt. Try to make good coffee out of instant coffee.
Yes. Well, but also it's like it has two stages. The coffee, the black coffee that they have there, it has two stages: scalding hot and lukewarm.
Yeah, I don't know what they do
There's
to
no
that
in
coffee,
between.
but like you let it sit for 1 second too long, and it's like freezing.
But it takes like an hour for it to get cool.
Yeah, but like it just jumps. It does not transition.
But this coffee, this is where is this coffee from? Is it like Colombian coffee?
I think it's Colombian coffee.
Wow, Colombian coffee's good.
Yeah, best one in the world.
Well, I heard German coffee was good.
So this is a podcast that me and my best friend Lucas
Yes, I'm Lucas.
and I'm Isaac,
Yes, and
and-
together we are the
Bro-Yo Cast.
Bro-Yo
We're the
Cast
cast
of the
of
Bro-Yo
Bro-Yo
Cast.
Cast.
Yes.
And we're just going to be talking in this. I don't know how many of you have listened to our teaser episode.
But this is our first official episode. If we were to number it, it would be number 1.
Yeah, our teaser episode is actually episode 0. And, well, it's called teaser
Because
episode.
it's just a little taste. It's like when you go into like Costco or Sam's Club, or I don't know what they have in Colombia or whatever, but they have samples, and you try it, and you see if you like it, but you don't really know until you get the full thing in your mouth.
Yeah, one could say that the teaser episode was like an espresso shot, and this episode's like a cappuccino.
It's like a cappuccino. It won't. Sorry, we have a teacher who, that's one of his favorite analogies.
He might be listening to this, and if you are,
If you are, shout out, Mister.
no,
we're
we don't
not
want
going to say your name.
Well, we can say his name and then bleep it out.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, we're just gonna bleep all that out, but
Yeah, we're not cursing him out.
we're
But
just
now-
bleep, 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 bleep. No, but yes. So this is gonna be a cappuccino. It's gonna be smooth. It's gonna be just right. No sugar. We don't want sugar in this. Okay, what's one thing? How would you give me some description of you? What's one thing special about you?
Well, something special about me is I'm on a podcast called Bro-Yo Cast, and you're listening to it right now.
Yes. Well, we're just we're getting energized at this moment. We both have a coffee cup in our hands, and we're just sitting here, kind of cozy. We don't want to get too cozy, because if we get too cozy, you know what happens then? What happens, Isaac?
We fall asleep. And we're just two best friends,
BFFs.
and we started a podcast.
We're starting one right now. This is our first official episode.
Yeah, we released a teaser trailer about a week ago.
1 week, yeah.
Maybe more, depending on when you're listening to this.
Depending on when we release this.
Yeah. But we're going to try to stay on a schedule of every other week.
You know, September. We're starting in September. What's that?
Well, that's
International
Podcast Month.
Yeah, exactly.
IPM 2019. Use the hashtag in all your posts about podcasts.
Yes. And look us up on Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter. We're at
BroYoCast.
But so this podcast, we're just gonna be talking and well, we don't have like a big overarching topic like maybe the history of Rome podcast. We're just gonna be talking, and like maybe some of our episodes will have like a topic, but maybe they won't. And well, do we have a topic prepared for today?
Well, not necessarily.
But one
Unless you
could
think of
say
one.
we do. One could say our topic is the podcast.
The podcast. Podcast in general. What is podcast?
Well, I think our listeners probably know what a podcast is.
No.
I don't think we're having many listeners that are listening to podcasts for the first time. But if you are out there, tweet at us at BroYoCast.
No, but more in a philosophical way. What is podcast?
Well, I think that's something Aristotle asked himself when he said, "What is life?"
Yeah, it's know thyself, know thy podcast.
All I know is
That
I know nothing about podcasts.
Wow, that was actually pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty great.
We did not plan that.
We're not philosophy majors, but
One could say.
oh, okay. This is getting kind of creepy.
We keep saying the same thing.
Yeah. Maybe it's because we're drinking the same coffee.
Out of the same cup at the same time.
Not out of the same cup. So, what podcasts do you listen to, Lucas?
Well, I mean, we talked about that a little bit in the teaser, didn't we?
Well, we might have. I might have cut it out. I don't
Well,
really remember.
Well, if we talk about the podcast,
But I feel like it's important for us to start talking about like podcasts, because podcasts are really the reason why we started this podcast.
but would you say that the type of podcast that someone listens to, you can, like, okay, for example, we had a teacher the other day, and he was talking about how, based off of one's personality, you can tell what type of video games they play, right?
Right.
Would you say that based on the type of podcast one listens to, you can tell their personality type?
Well, I would say yes, because there's a podcast for every interest. There's some podcasts out there for some basic people, and then there's podcasts out there for just like extravagant people that are addicted
Smart
to pens
and smart people.
and smart people too.
So okay. So the opposite of that, based off someone's personality type, could you, you're a podcast connoisseur, that someone could say that.
One could say that.
Yes. So being a podcast quote unquote connoisseur,
Okay.
what, based off my personality, because you know me very well, because we're
Okay.
very close,
Yes.
what type of podcast do you think I would listen to, or which specific podcast could you see me listening to?
Well, I don't think you're much of a podcast man, and I think most of the podcasts you would listen to be about things that aren't podcasts. So, like, for example, I know you listen to Views, which is a YouTuber making a podcast. It's not
Yes.
a podcast host making a podcast, or it's like if I watch YouTube, then I watch Mike Hurley's vlog.
Okay, so question: does that make me? Does that? How do I phrase this? But that's not the only podcast I listen
That's
to.
not the only podcast you listen to. That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Here, I'm gonna get on my phone right now, and I'm gonna show you what podcast I listen
Okay.
to. Okay.
Um,
So yeah. What would you say my personality type is?
Well,
Hello Internet. That's a good
okay.
one.
Well, are you subscribed to that podcast?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know.
Why
actually.
are you only subscribed to 2 podcasts?
Well, I only use this one for those two. I don't know why.
Okay. Well,
I'm working on it.
We have a lot of things to work through.
Well, I also have Lore,
Uh-huh.
the indicator from Planet Money.
Wait, can you say that again?
The indicator from Planet
Okay,
Money.
you just said it weird before.
The and then Views, which is more of my leisure. Okay, let's go. What? Oh, and then the main one I listen to is called Nothing Much Happens: Bedtime Stories for Adults by Catherine Nicolai. Shout out to her. She's like the lady who has helped me sleep all for the past 3 months. So, little celebrity crush. I don't even know what you look like, but I should look you up online.
Well, I hope the people like our personalities, because
Yeah.
I think we're a bit like, I don't think we're everybody's cup of tea,
Not even everybody's cup of coffee.
but I hope the people love us. As much as we love Hank Green,
And John.
yeah, and John, we love the Green brothers.
See, I'm more of like a Hank, and he's more of a John.
Well, that's not entirely true. This is. We'll talk about this later.
Okay, what are you?
So, what other podcasts do you listen to?
Well, I just told you all the podcasts that I listen to, but it really depends on what mood I'm in, on which podcast I listen to. If I'm feeling in a more creative mood, I'll listen to what's that one called? I just said it.
He's just sitting there pointing at. Okay. Okay. We'll be back after a short break.
Let's talk about your podcast and the specific ones that you enjoy and that you are not passionate about, but you're committed to.
Yeah, so my history with podcasts is actually goes back a while, like I started listening to podcasts about almost 3 years ago now, because I heard about this podcast called Hello Internet, and I didn't really have anything better to do that day, and so I listened to one of their podcasts, and I have to say I was hooked. And at that moment, there were something like 54 episodes, and within like a month or two, I'd listened through their entire back catalog, and I'd caught up, and I was listening to the new episodes, and like I was hooked on podcasts. This is actually episode 60. I just checked, and well, ever since then, my podcast like collection, I guess, has grown, and like, well, now it's almost 20 weekly or bi-weekly or monthly podcasts that I subscribe to, and we could go through a list of them if you guys want to someday in the future, but it's quite long, and I think it might get a bit boring, but maybe we can talk about my favorite ones.
Yes.
So as I mentioned, Hello Internet, my first one, and I love CGP Grey and Brady Heron. They're like my podcasting heroes.
So, would you consider Hello Internet your favorite podcast?
Favorite podcast of all time.
And
yes.
them, would they be considered your favorite podcasters?
I think they would be, at least CGP Grey would be in my top 3 podcasters.
What was the other guy's name?
Brady Heron.
And you wouldn't put him up there?
He would be in my like top 5, but I think.
Wait, is he the one who asks a lot of questions?
Yes, he does ask a lot of questions. He's like the Australian one.
Yes, I like his accent.
Yeah, his accent goes away more as you keep listening,
Really?
because he lives in England. I don't know if you knew that. So like, maybe I'm just used to it. Maybe I'm just like becoming an Aussie.
Well,
But then there's Dear Hank and John with Hank Green. Like, as we mentioned, we
it's
love
just
him.
like me.
And then there's the Anthropocene Reviewed, and 99% Invisible, which I know is like a really mainstream podcast, and it's one that I love. And I'm a big Dungeons and Dragons fan, and I listen to Fate and the Fable Maidens. They're a family-friendly, all-female cast of a Dungeons and Dragons game, and they're just amazing. Their DM is an inspiration to me as a DM, and their players. I hope someday I can have, I can help my players feel as confident as those players feel, to like, be themselves at the table.
Yeah.
And but yeah, those, I would say. I also listen to Delete This with Hank and his wife Catherine, and the Age of Napoleon podcast. I'm a big Napoleon fan. Lore is also a pretty mainstream one that Lucas also listens to. Top 4. I listen to a lot of Relay FM podcasts. They're a podcast network, and actually the co-founder of that podcast network, Mike Hurley, he's a big inspiration. He's part of the reason why I wanted to start this podcast.
So you previously mentioned him.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So yes, he's a pretty big podcaster, and like a year or two ago, he started a vlog.
Interesting.
Yeah, and he's in a lot of podcasts. He hosts like 6 podcasts right now, but over his entire career, he's probably hosted like close to maybe 20 in total, and he's been on like dozens of shows as a guest.
Yes. Well, all of this nerding out is not wrong, not bad, I guess, but it just shows that you are a podcast connoisseur.
Yes, and I hope that this feels like the natural step. And shout out to Mike Hurley. He started his own podcast, and I'm just a big fan. Mike, if you're listening to this, maybe I'll tag you in a tweet when we.
Wait, I think he liked one of our replies on Twitter.
Yes, it was actually it was a tweet about him.
Well, I'm happy that you liked it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of my history with podcasts, and I hope this can be an easygoing podcast, and I hope it becomes, like I said earlier, a household name.
And over time, our podcast is gonna improve. It's gonna take a little bit, but we're gonna work the kinks out, and we're gonna give y'all what y'all want to hear. And
yeah, and if there's something I know from listening to podcasts, is that it's about building a community, and I really hope we can build a community around BroYoCast.
Yeah, whatever the listeners want, whatever we're passionate about, that's what we're gonna go for, and we're gonna keep pursuing that to make y'all happy, to make us happy, because this ultimately makes us happy, and seeing people happy makes us happy. Happiness, that should be the name of this podcast, happiness. But no, BroYoCast. Remember it. Spread the word.
Yes. So, give us reviews on your
Yelp?
podcast app, and you can find us on Twitter at BroYoCast. Links in the show notes, and we'll be here every other week. We'll try to be here every other week, and well, I think that's all for today.
Yeah, just stay tuned for our next episode. Episode 2 should be coming out very soon.
Yeah, in 2 weeks.
2 weeks? A week, 2 weeks?
And maybe by then we'll have figured out a catchphrase for when we exit.
But for now, it's not yes, it's not no.
It's
yo.